very pleasant good morning to you. Hi, this is Patrick Timpone. Another day in paradise, September 8th, 2011, as we broadcast live every morning on OneRadioNetwork.com. And now we're pleased to be on NaturalNewsRadio.com. So regardless of where you are listening, or perhaps it's a podcast, sometime in 2012. How you doing on this 2012 thing? You doing good? Yeah, see? Yeah, you're fine. All of our podcasts are available at no charge around the world. We have over 1,200 of them. Yeah, that's right. The way we support ourselves is your kind donations, and we do appreciate the 10 and 20 bucks we get, and some people sign up for $5 a month. God love you. God love you. And then we offer some very selective products, and we receive commission on those. And one of those products is something that I've been using for into my 7th week now. 7th week with the Mind Alive, or the Alert. We'll call it the Alert Brain Training System. And we're going to talk about that this morning. Not to sell you on, because that's, as you know, that's not my main focus here, is because we do fine, you know. It's the old idea, you do what you love and everything else works. But the Alert Brain Training System is so cool that I wanted to turn you on to. When I bought it, after we talked to Nikki, I didn't plan on selling it. I bought one because I talked to Nikki Vandenberg, and you can see her interview on our website. And then I start using this thing because I just knew that she was into something about getting the brain back all happy again. And it's used a lot for folks with ADHD, and we'll talk about it this morning. So I started using it, and before you know it, holy man, I was using it twice a day, and I was only supposed to be using it once a day. So I go, what's this about? And I love it, and I'm to my 7th week. So we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about the brain this morning, and sound and light and biofeedback and audio-visual entrainment. And we're going to kick it off the first hour with Dave Seaver, who's up in Canada, Edmonton, Alberta, who is the man who actually makes this thing. But Dave's got a really neat background in all kinds of things, going back to dental work with TMJ, with audio-visual entrainment. Went to university for this. His company now, I guess, about their 30th year, Mind Alive. They make the machine. And then next hour, we're going to talk to Michael Joyce, who's actually the original inventor, I believe. And he's a psychologist and interesting man, knows a lot about nutrition. We're going to talk about how the brain is also connected with the gut and stuff, because that's fascinating. But right now, Dave Seaver, how are you, sir?
Doing very fine, thank you.
Nice to talk to you up in Canada, huh? You were telling me that you actually have a little bit of warm weather. That's good. That doesn't happen.
Yes, a little bit of Texas has spilled in, which is wonderful, but not too much Texas. So we're not baking. We're just loving it.
Yeah. Well, how long is your summer up there? Like 3 weeks or so?
This year it has been. Typically it's about 2 months, it seems, but this year is pretty short.
No kidding. I mean, really short.
Yeah. In terms of having any weather that was really over 70 degrees, it's been quite a short summer.
My goodness. So how do you grow food up there with that?
Well, we have 17 hours of sunlight between sunrise and sunset. There's a lot of sun up here, so there's massive amounts of grain and food grown up here. I kid you not. Although all our gardens were stunted by about 3 weeks this year because we had so much rain and cold weather this spring.
Mm-hmm. So plants do okay with the amount of sunshine, even though maybe it's not as intense.
That's correct, yeah.
I'll be done. See, I learn something all the time with this farming stuff. Yeah,
so, farming is huge up here, huge amounts of it.
I bet you get good tomatoes with those cold nights, huh?
Yeah, I have some tomato plants in my garden, and they're wonderful. Unfortunately, this year I'm going to have about 50 blossoms that are going to die without actually having a chance to mature into tomatoes, because our summer was a little bit cool and short this year.
You know, I didn't get a one tomato, one regular. The zucchini do well, but we had over, Dave, I think 80 days or something over 100 degrees. All-time record. Just crazy.
Yeah, well, that's hot. That's
just
hot.
Crazy. And the blooms, they don't do anything. They just sit there and look at you. See, I'm not. I'm not making tomatoes, man. I'm not doing anything. I'm just gotta look at you. So, boy, you've been at this brain stuff for a long time. You went to university for this, really.
Well, I'm actually trained as electronics designing, and
right, for the whole technology. You went to university, right?
Well, no, I developed it. Well, I shouldn't say developed it, but I've developed a lot of it. Mm-hmm. What happened is I was doing TMJ research. It's temporomandibular joint.
Oh, yeah, we know what that is. Yeah, TMJ.
Yeah, I was doing leading research with a Dr. Norman Thomas, who now is in Nevada. And we were doing I was his electronics designer. We were designing a research lab. And that was in 1981 when I started there, and I made nerve stimulators. I made gear to measure all kinds of muscle action potentials and things like this to look at the occlusion and try to determine what component of a jaw problem was stress and how much was poor fitting teeth or malocclusion. And then in 1984, an instructor in performing arts had heard of this flashing light technique for hypnotic induction, and he wanted to use it on his performing arts students that were struggling with stage fright. And he commissioned me to build him a machine in 1984, and that's how I got involved in the light and sound stuff.
I'll be done. Huh. So when the brain sees, Dave Seaver, a flashing light, what goes on? Well,
there's a few things that go on. I guess the basic thing, two things go on. The first thing that happens is typically you start to dissociate. And what that means from a meditative or hypnotic perspective is you start letting go of all your thoughts. Mm-hmm. A lot of people who use our gear deal with racy head issues because they're in a state of stress. Mm-hmm. And so they're loaded up with cortisol and all the stress hormones, and you have to get in a break from that, or you can't relax. Mm-hmm. And the gear is powerful at shutting down all that negative thought and that racy headedness that keeps a person in sort of a state of constant agitation and anxiety. The second thing that happens, there's, I guess, two other things that happen on the brain level. One is the brain will follow the frequency of the lights and sounds. So if we're stimulating at 10 hertz, the brain will start to sync up at 10 hertz as well. And that whole range, 8 to 10 hertz, 7 to 10 hertz is where meditators go. And so we can put a person into a similar brain pattern that takes a Zen meditator about 10 years of practice on average.
Really? Yeah, you don't have to eat rice and vegetables. It's great.
No. On the other hand, a lot of people have slow brains, like ADD, ADHD, depression, cognitive decline in seniors, or maybe brain injuries. Mm-hmm. And we can speed the brain up. And so we have what we call beta SMR. SMR stands for sensory motor rhythm. And when you give people beta and SMR, it has an inhibition effect, and this gets a little complicated, but whatever frequency we stimulate at, the half frequency of stimulation will inhibit all those brain waves. So an example, like ADHD children have a lot of 7 to 8 hertz theta slowed alpha, and if we give them 14 to 16, we'll inhibit that 7, 8 hertz and sharpen their brain. So basically, you kind of have, the other thing is we increase cerebral blood flow quite significantly, and there are studies done on that using PET scans. Up to 28% at a meditative frequency of 7.8 hertz at the Schumann resonance. Fox and Rakely found Photic-Stim would boost brain blood flow by 28%. And all these issues with slow brain waves, like cognitive decline, ADD, ADHD, depression, have a hypoperfusion of cerebral blood flow, or not enough.
Oh, boy, we have a lot to talk about. We're with Dave Seaver. They make the machines that we're now offering for you on the front page of One Radio Network. Like I said, I'm on my 7th week, and I love this thing, so I wanted to offer it to you folks. And we're also splitting the commissions on these with Nikki Vandenberg, because we were introduced by this from Nikki. She's a great gal, and you get a book you get Nikki's book with this whole package. We wanted to give you a whole package so you could really get into this and not just sell you some piece of equipment and you throw it in the drawer. And then Nikki's also available as part of our package for you with emails and to help you with questions. So it's a whole thing. and it's called the Alert Brain Training System, and it's right on the front page. So consider this, because these things are really, really cool. Now, Dave, you said something that's just fascinating to me. Obviously, we all understand the racy brain, the idea where we would get going so fast and we can increase the cortisol level and we can't relax because we're doing right, kind of modern America, or if we tend to worry or get anxious about something. But so that would be what you would call a more faster brain, just in general. Is that correct? Yes.
When a brain doesn't regulate correctly, it usually slides into one of two conditions. It either has the foot on the gas all the time,
right,
or it has no brakes. Not much gas, but no brakes. And both conditions often look a lot alike.
Not much gas, but no brakes. Would that be more ADHD?
That's correct. ADHD kids don't go. It'd be like a car in high idle. It doesn't go very fast.
But it doesn't stop. But it doesn't stop.
Yeah, so it keeps smashing into everything anyway. Whereas a brain that has a lot of gas has good brakes, but because they're going so fast, they have a tendency to smash into stuff too. But not hard because they hit the brakes. But in the net result, whether your brain is really racy or whether it's ADHD, the anxiety component in the racy head is often the same.
So why, if your brain was slow but doesn't stop, I would assume that's where the anxiety would come, because you just can't sit still.
That's right.
Is that right?
By and large, you can't sort of reason and regulate the brain's random journey of wherever it goes. You can't control it.
Give me an idea how that would be for somebody with ADHD, just in practical terms.
Okay, well, somebody with ADHD may be on their way to school and something happens, or maybe someone says something rude, or they miss their bus or something like that. So now they get worried, and their brain starts to worry about it, and it goes zoom, 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 and they just can't stop it. Okay. Or often the case, they'll think maybe someone is thinking something bad of them, or said someone made a bad comment, and instead of reasoning it through and sitting down with the person saying, I don't like what you said, can we discuss it? They just go, he was mean to me, 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 and got to get even kind of a thing.
Because the brain is repeating it?
Oh, over and over and over again, yeah, hundreds of times.
Huh. Now, why would that be associated, Dave Seaver, with a slower, because it doesn't stop. There's no brakes.
There's no brakes, yeah. And they also don't, and because there's no gas, they really don't think it through very well. So ADHD kids can get angry for long periods, hours and hours, about silly things because they don't have the gas to reason it through.
Oh, they don't have the gas to reason it through. That's interesting. Yeah. So what does the Ritalin do then when they give the kids Ritalin?
Well, Ritalin, as you know, is a form of speed, and for most of us, it would make us really, it would give us a too much gas condition, and we would be zooming all over the place on Ritalin. But with ADHD, if it's prescribed properly, it will boost the brain blood flow for one, and the brain waves, you'll see the theta waves reduce in size, and their reasoning ability will go way up, and their focus and attention will go way up as well, and they will get some brakes, and they'll get a nice mix of gas and brakes.
Okay, so it speeds up the brain a little bit so they can reason better, and then it allows the brain to stop, and so they can reason better. So that's a pretty sophisticated drug. But would it be unfair to call the Ritalin dangerous?
Yeah, I wouldn't call it. Well, yes and no.
Okay.
Probably the most dangerous part about Ritalin is that it's prescribed to so many kids who don't actually need Ritalin. I mean, when a person is stressed, they become ADHD. It's natural to become impulsive, hyperactive, and inattentive under stress. And if you don't reason well, you're under stress anyway. Most breakfast cereals will trigger an ADHD-type brain profile. And we've seen this I'll be lecturing on this in Arizona with another fellow, Ron Swatzina, and we'll show brain maps, EEGs of a person eating typical, your sugar, zero nutrition, highly sugared breakfast cereal, and how her brain became ADHD. And then there's all kinds of other issues that come into play too. If a mom has stress during pregnancy because she's worried about paying the rent and this and that, her cortisol levels and such will modify the baby's brain to become ADHD, because ADHD is a survival type of personality.
survival personality. But that's opposite of reasoning things, Dave Seaver, isn't it?
Yes. If you're impulsive, you will act out before being acted on, and you will kill whatever it is, and you will survive and make babies. If you're inattentive, things don't sneak up on you. If you're hyperactive, things can't catch you. And so ADHD is kind of like a personality that we resort to under stress, and if a mom has stress during pregnancy as well. So Tom Hartman has written a good book on that as well, this sort of the survivor brain.
Tom Hartman, The Survivor Brain. Huh.
Yeah, that's not quite the name of his book, but that's the sort of the topic.
We're with Dave Seaver, the fellow that really put this whole alert brain machine together, and manufactures it, and knows a lot of stuff, as you can hear, about this whole thing. Oh, I just want to mention, I'm sorry, I mispronounced Nikki's name. It's Valkenburg. Van Valkenburg, Nikki Van Valkenburg. I said Vandenberg. I was thinking of the Air Force Base, but it's Van Valkenburg and her book, and we have that as part of the package. If you care to join us, this fascinating subject, because there's so, I'm just going to say my own personal opinion that everybody listening today, including your host, our brains are all a bit wonky, and I think it's because of all different kinds of things, whether it be nutrition, watching television, could be electromagnetic fields, genetics, predisposition. We don't really have the skills for relationship communicating. I mean, are you on the same track there, Dave, with me, or am I going too far there?
Oh no, you certainly are. Like, we do EEGs here in our own office, a full head quantitative EEGs. And what's considered normal is plus or minus 2 standard deviations from the norm. So yes, there's a fair bit of variation that before they consider you to be clinical.
Mm-hmm.
But yes, there's a lot of wonkiness that can, be on either side of the so-called norm.
Yeah.
And even norms aren't necessarily norms. It depends on who when they make up their databases, who are they using as their so-called norms? Because I was just reading a study recently that showed that that city people have 28, I think it was 25 to 30% more anxiety than rural people.
Well, that makes sense, right?
Yeah, sure. So if they're using rural people as their subjects, everybody would look abnormal. If they're using city people as their subjects, everybody looks pretty normal.
Well, also, Dave Seaver, just in general, I've been at this 30 years, this whole health stuff, and you start talking about studies. I mean, you're into this idea, I think. I mean, how can you take 100 people and do any kind of study when you're not taking into account what kind of food they're eating, where they live? I mean, do they live under a power line? What their relationship is? You know what I'm saying?
It is so difficult.
How can you come up with any kind of, people say, well, this study says that. I don't believe any studies.
Well, it is difficult for sure, and sometimes you just have to kind of use your own gut feeling.
Yeah.
What I'm always up against myself is people talk about, when you get into states of meditation, they call those altered states of consciousness. And I say, hey, for 2 million years, that's where we by and largely were when we were sitting by, out in the field or up by the ocean side. We're in the altered state of consciousness now, living in the city, especially.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, I like that. I mean, we didn't. Well, let me go back to this ADD thing, because I was under the impression, I just imagine that people that are ADD, their brain was faster, and that was the reason why they couldn't focus on something. But it's really the opposite.
Brain is very slow. Well, ADD is, they're pretty much making a meditation waveform quite a bit of the time, like about alpha, around 9 to 10 cycles per second.
So they generally feel pretty good.
Yeah, but they're very spaced out. But ADHD are the hyperactive ones, and their brains are even slower. So
there's two things. There's ADD, attention deficit disorder. That would be a slower brain that doesn't stop, so they can't reason their way through, and they could get hung up on little things.
That's right, but they're mostly the ones that are really kind of spaced out and just sit there. And teachers, because they don't cause any commotion in the classroom, teachers have a tendency just to slough them off to the next grade, and they just pass with a 55%. And then when they graduate at grade 12, they don't know anything, but at least they didn't bother anybody.
Yeah.
But the ADHD are even slower. And this is kind of a reverse thing that goes on. The frontal lobes of the brain control the motor strip. So how your arms and legs and moving and all that stuff is controlled by the frontal lobes. So when your frontal lobes are very, very slow, as they are with ADHD, they don't inhibit the motor strip, so the motor strip goes hyperactive.
Hyperactive.
It goes hyperactive, and so they get hyperactive because their frontal lobes are so slow. So they seem to be racing around, but really it's a serious no-brakes condition.
Wow. So that's really tough. So that's ADHD.
That's ADHD. Yeah. ADD, the brain is faster. It has a sort of an idling rhythm of 9 to 10 hertz, whereas ADHD is about 7 to 8. Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of difference in terms of brain oxygenation and blood flow and processing. Mm-hmm. I mean, the ADHD brains are just a little above sleep. They're not much above sleep, whereas ADD is more in a meditative frequency range. Mm-hmm. And that's why ADD kids are so calm and relaxed all the time. But they're not taking in information in school and stuff. They're just sitting there.
Now, these are modern maladies, I would assume, unless we just didn't know these were going on 200 years ago. How did these kids get this way? What are some of the reasons why they got this way?
Yeah, well, the ADD and ADHD, of course, have been around for forever, but it didn't matter in the old days. And ADHD kids especially are very hands-on. They have to stimulate their brains better to process, so they have to do things. And so ADHD kids are on farms all the time, and they were excellent mechanics. They could fix tractors and rig up pulleys and ropes and haul hay around and train horses and all that kind of stuff. But they don't. And a hands-on type of way of living is very survival-based, and they're not meant to be in a classroom, especially the so-called these academic schools nowadays, which is my opinion. Just a poor excuse to so-called educate our kids on a cheap budget. But academic schooling really is the poorest form of learning. It's called semantic learning, and it's the poorest form. Doing is your best form of learning, and ADHD kids thrive quite well in a doing type of scenario, but they fail terribly in a school scenario. I mean, ADHD kids are brilliant video game players.
Well, so then
they do well.
So then ADHD paradigm in a child is not really a disease. I mean, it's just the way they are.
It's just the way they are, and I wouldn't really call it a disease. It's become a disease
because they want to do a drug for it.
It's kind of become a disease partly because they want a drug for it, and also it doesn't fit into our modern education model.
Oh.
Partially that, and also, but it does cause. I mean, they do have their issues. They often struggle socially. They often get into fights with people more. They're more likely to substance abuse. And from a tribal situation, which humans were for 1.5 million years, we all lived in clans or tribes. They would be your better hunters, your better fighters, your better survivors in a sense. But they often struggled socially with the rest of the tribe. But they were still valuable for the tribe.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think that the television and games and texting and all this stuff is effect it has on all of our brains? Yeah,
well, I think, I think television it causes all kinds of problems. I mean, I certainly like to watch thinking type shows, like on Discovery Channel or MythBusters, which cause you to think. But a lot of it. There's pros and cons. I mean, so many people are so stressed out nowadays that if you sit in front of TV and you just rot for a couple hours, it'll reduce your cortisol levels and boost your serotonin and dopamine. So you can get addicted, in a sense, to watching TV.
Because people use it to relax.
People use it to relax, but on the other hand, there's other ways to relax that are far more creative and really more beneficial to your life and your brain in general, like going for walks.
Mm-hmm.
Just chatting with people in general is nice, but so TV is the easiest way to relax. In a sense, it would be like drinking beer as opposing to meditating.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know. I've known people that. I knew a lady one time that really couldn't even go to sleep without the television. What is going on there?
Yeah, my wife is actually like that.
Well, why don't you put it on the machine? And the alert machine doesn't work to fix that?
Oh, it sure does, but she has a tendency to not use it too much.
Just like a mechanic that has a broken car in the driveway, huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly, yeah. She's almost too close to it, because we manufacture. It's like, well, I can use it any time, so why bother? It's kind of like Alberta. We're in the prairies.
Right.
And so we have more scuba divers per capita in Alberta than there is in British Columbia, which is right on the ocean, because we can't dive.
That figures. So how would the television work for putting people to sleep?
Again, people who have ADD or ADHD or anxieties, it has a tendency to just sort of drown out the racy head, and just sort of this backgroundness stops the racy head, and the brain just kind of gets quiet, and then they fall asleep.
Mm-hmm. We're with Dave Seaver, and he makes the Alert Brain Training System. So we on our ad, we should probably put Conquer ADHD and ADD as well, right?
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Okay,
and other things too.
Yeah, other things too. And that's what I keep talking, I've been beginning to tell my listeners about this machine. I think if one has unruly thoughts or all kinds of issues, that this machine is going to help. I tell you, my brain has gotten quieter. I'm able to listen to people better, and I actually have better memory recall. I really love doing research on. We do a couple shows a week on finance, Dave, the whole world situation, and I can I can remember over the last month some third quarter earnings report for Germany or something where I just read it one time.
Yeah,
I never could remember that. I mean, but it's there. If I've seen it, it's almost like my brain has taken a picture of it.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. Actually, 3 years ago, we ran a study on 78 college students out of Germany.
Mm-hmm.
And just in one session, they were their memory and their concentration improved vastly over the control group.
One session of what?
Of using the audiovisual on our gear.
No kidding.
Yeah,
how can that be for 20 minutes? Come on.
Well, we're boosting cerebral blood flow up to 28 or so percent, 25 to 30%. We're getting the brain waves sort of in track, and we're reducing noise, chatter in the brain. So all those things lend themselves. When you take the brain off all these other stuff that's going on and you let it get on task, your concentration will improve, and automatically if your concentration improves, you take in more information. And if your brain is quieter, it's been well documented that if a brain is quieter, you have better memory.
Yeah. That's so interesting because I've been using the term with friends saying my brain just feels quieter. And I did that term just came to me. I didn't get that from your website or anything, or from the book. The brain gets quieter. So this machine, folks, what it is, it's a little small machine, and then you put earphones on, and then you also have glasses. So we have a flashing light that is in sync with the sound. Correct?
That is correct. Yeah.
And then there's a heartbeat kind of a sound as well, along with the other sound. What's that about?
Well, the heartbeat you can use as a pacer, and we have a CD that teaches you how to use it. But basically, with the heartbeat that's on the Alert, you inhale for 2 heartbeats and exhale for 2 heartbeats, and that sets you up to get into a meditative breath, which basically is 6 breath cycles per second is the norm, roughly the norm for a meditative breath. And breathing properly and diaphragmatically has quite an impact on both calming the mind and boosting cerebral blood flow. Teaching people how to breathe is, again, another way also of helping to combat ADD and ADHD and boost the brain and improve your functioning, because it just settles the whole chatter down, the body down, and it gets cerebral blood flow going in the brain better, increases serotonin and dopamine levels, which are real vital for feeling good.
Yeah. But just even without doing any work at all, but just sitting there looking at it, listening for 20 minutes, sessions go for 20 minutes, about 22 minutes, that increases the blood flow, just that.
Just that alone. Yes, all the studies we've done so far have not had the breathing component because we didn't want to confound the study. But so the breathing is an additional aspect you can use to it to enhance it even further.
Yeah, because I didn't even know about the breathing thing. I'd like to get that CD and learn that.
Yep.
Okay, stay right there. Dave Seaver is with us. He's a fellow that makes this machine, but he's not just the technology manufacturing guy. As you can hear, he's done quite a bit of research. He actually goes and talks and gives different lectures on nutrition and brain and all that. If you have any questions about this alert brain training system and ADHD and the brain and wonky brain, whatever, you can call us, 888-663-6386. Email Patrick at oneradionetwork.com. More and more, it's so interesting how more information is coming in about the brain. This BioAge Bio Superfood that we were introduced to a couple of months ago, and you can listen to Roland Thomas' interview we did, is a microalgae that awakens the genius within. Awakening the Genius Within. That's the name of the book that you can get. It's an ebook. Just click on the ad. It's right under the alert ad on our front page. And click on there, click through there, and download that ebook. And it's all about this hypothalamus pituitary axis connection. And these microalgae really, really help the brain and help the whole body. And this is a real superfood, 4 different microalgae. And I've been introduced to a lot of products over the years. As you can imagine, people wanted me to talk about stuff over 30 years being on the radio and being into nutrition. And this is one of the more exciting products ever. This is cool. You can feel this stuff. There's something just good about it. I gave 4 tablets to Bria, my golden retriever, wrapped up in a little bit of meat this morning. I'm doing about 8 a day now. I love it. You can really feel it. And along with this alert machine and this microalgae, my brain is happy. Happy, snappy. It's a BioAge superfood, the BioAge superfood, right on the front page of oneradionetwork.com. And I had this for breakfast this morning, too. Man, Daniel Vitalis, let's play a game. On a desert island, you can only pick one food. Just one. Just only one.
If I had to live off of one food, I think it would be, if I had any choice, it would probably be colostrum. It's the most complete food that I know of. And the thing about colostrum is the first food for any mammal. So it's kind of a no-brainer that colostrum contains all essential fats, it contains all essential amino acids, it contains all essential glyconutrients, which are carbohydrates. It basically contains every substance that we need to maintain our bodies. The first milking you get from a cow after the cow calves is called colostrum. Every milking thereafter is called transitional milk, and what it is it's part colostrum and part milk. So that's something that can happen in the industry because people will sell you the transitional milk and call it colostrum. We're very careful not to do that. We only use the first milking of the animals.
Pure colostrum from Surthrival. They take the moisture out. That's it. To order, click on the picture of colostrum, front page, oneradionetwork.com. And a quick little plug here. I'm going to do a live commercial this morning from my friend Andrew Goss. Everybody in the world is out there saying, bring us your gold necklaces and all this stuff. I know what's going on. I don't have a TV, but I know what's going on because I just hear people talking about it. And you go through the city and there's about 50 different places on every corner to buy. We buy gold and silver because gold is, in the neighborhood of $1,900, and they probably give you $1,000 an ounce for it and make a lot of money. Andrew Goss is a solid guy. He buys and sells gold and silver, real American money. That's it. He doesn't do Krugerrands or hunks of gold, any of that stuff. What he does is real money, authentic, real American money. And because of that, there's no 1099 or any, because it's just money. And so it's a private transaction. So if you make money on buying and selling your gold coins that are real money that you could take to Walmart and give them a $20 gold piece and they'll give you change for $20, I wouldn't do that because you've just lost a couple $1,000, but they'll take it because it's real money. Because of that, it is a private transaction. It's very different if you buy a Krugerrand where you get a 1099 and are compelled to pay taxes on it. You're supposed to pay taxes on a private transaction as well. So if you buy a couch for $50 and sell it for $100, don't forget to put that on your income tax return, because it's up to you, because it's a private transaction. So don't forget. Buy a car for $2,000, sell it for $4,000. You should report that, because it's a voluntary system and it's up to you to report that. So don't forget. Same with your gold and silver coins. Don't forget. It's your responsibility. Andrew Goss's phone number is 800-468-2646. 800-468-2646.
Nothing is more expensive than bad information. Know the source. OneRadioNetwork.com. Talk to Patrick now, 888-663-6386, or email patrick@OneRadioNetwork.com.
Up in Alberta, Canada, Dave Seaver's with us, Mind Alive. Been at this their company 30 years, and he's the man that makes this alert brain training system that we are offering to you. And so now let's really get into this machine and see what it does. And that's an email that just came in. I'll say, okay, well, technically, what does this machine do? I don't know whether people are from NJ, from New Jersey. So what does it do, Dave?
Well, I think as you mentioned before, it dissociates people from their thoughts.
Dissociates from their thoughts.
So it basically puts into a meditative kind of a state.
So why does that have any kind of long-lasting effect on the brain? Wouldn't you just go right back to weird thoughts after a session?
Well, racy head spawns a racy head. When your head is racing, it shuts down your serotonin levels. It increases your norepinephrine and your dopamine and your cortisol levels, which keep you in a racy head state. So you have to somehow get in there and break the cycle. And a racy head state shuts down cerebral blood flow, which also causes people to be more ADD-ish like. It causes them to always be in a sort of a defensive mind state and always worried about what's going to go wrong.
Now say that again.
It puts people into a sort of a defensive or fear-based kind of a mind state. And they're always worrying about what's going to go wrong rather than looking at what could go right.
Now, why would that be?
Well, when your cortisol levels go up, and you see serotonin, cortisol, of course, is all wild animals have a much higher cortisol levels than tame animals or humans do, because they're always in a state of looking out for their survival.
They call that flight or fright kind of thing, huh?
Yeah, they're kind of in that state 24/7. And that's also tied into serotonin. I mean, serotonin is very key to being relaxed. Meditation increases serotonin. Drinking beer or wine does. Socializing and feeling good increases it. The street drug ecstasy, unfortunately, increases serotonin, which is also causes its own problems.
Right. So that's why people are attracted to it.
Yes, indeed. And when serotonin modulates not only how easy do you feel, but also your threshold at which you perceive threat. So, for instance, someone who's low on serotonin, like a gangster, you just look at them. You looking at me? You looking at me? Hey, what's your problem? Want to take it outside? They're ready to fight everybody. And then you take someone maybe who just, took a little ecstasy, and you show them, put a gun to their face. They're like, isn't that a nice-looking gun? Can I play with it? They have no sense of fear. Huh. And they're very dangerous on that end, too. You can be dangerous on either end. So, we do have to have a balance of a fear response.
Right. So, in general, we just weren't meant to be thinking about the future or the past or concerned about our kid making the hockey team. I mean, that's natural. Even though moms do it, that causes problems.
Oh, indeed.
It just basically does.
Yes, and unlike basic animals, humans have a tendency to worry about stuff that's not going to happen for 100 years. Right. Or worry about stuff that happened 20 years ago.
Right.
We can reconjure it all back. We can even fantasize about stuff that isn't even true. And when the racy head starts happening, people start fantasizing about all kinds of stuff that isn't even true. Oh, my God, we're all going to die from global warming, or we're going to die from this, or we're all going to die from that.
Sure.
And then with the loss of cerebral blood flow, their reasoning goes down. They become more ADHD-like. And in the process, you also lose your ability to socialize. So they start disconnecting from their wife and their children and their friends, and they can't feel like they're connecting anymore. And humans are such social animals; we have to feel connected. So that makes them feel more stressed again because they feel like they're always on an island or always separate from all their friends.
So then, So then, excuse me. So then, just a 20-minute session every day, with looking at the sound, hearing the sounds, the heartbeat and the sound, and looking at these and the lights, and then you have different settings. So this thing changes throughout a 2-month period. What's going on then? Is it just training the brain to do what?
Well, yes, 20 minutes a day can help a person stay stable, greatly. And also, when you do that, your perception on the rest of your day changes as well.
Yeah.
So, and we have studies that show if a person has a perception or a particular brainwave signature that makes them see the sort of the negative in life, they will perceive that their daily hassles and such to be twice as high as someone who has a positive outlook, even though they have exactly the same daily hassles. And if you perceive that your day is going lousy as opposed to good, you're going to have then all the cortisol, serotonin, dopamine issues and all that stuff going on, and you'll be much more guarded and much more on edge, and you won't sleep well and all that stuff.
So our perception and our attitude and what we believe is going on is directly tied with the physiological, all the serotonin and everything. We know that.
Yes, and once you get into that state, it's difficult to break out of that state, and so the gear helps people break out of that. So the
machine helps you break out.
That's right. It sure does. And we also have a session on that gear that is a mood booster.
Yeah.
And it's meant to do that. With stress, the happy side of your brain, which is your left frontal lobe, starts to shut down, and the negative fear-based side, which is the right frontal lobe, has a tendency to take control. And then you see everything is negative. You can't focus. You can't concentrate. Even your immune system is quite compromised, and you'll come down more with flus and colds and things.
Sure.
A guy named Kang did a good study on that, and so you perceive your daily hassles and all your issues in life to be twice or 3 times worse than it really is compared to a person with a happy disposition. So a disposition is definitely physiologically based. It's also an attitude that you can take, too. But once you've slid into this negative attitude, the actual physiology of your brain will change, and then it's difficult to break out of it. And the gear is a powerful way of breaking out of that mindset.
Yeah.
That mindset.
So I see. So once you get into the groove of this, why most people don't change and just stay the same, right? Grandpa's been the same for 50 years and blah, blah, blah. So the sound and the light machine can help them break the pattern. That's
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. And in the process of also boosting your cerebral blood flow, you're going to start, when a hassle or a problem does come in, or someone, flips you the bird on the freeway, and instead of getting all pissed about it and wanting to smash the back end of his car off, you can go, well, maybe he's having a bad day. I'll just stay cool. Maybe he's having a bad day, and I'll just give him his space. Yeah. So you can start to be much more sort of philosophical about life, universe, and everything around you. And consciousness is partly about that, in my opinion. It's not about managing real fears like falling off the cliff. I think we should all have that fear. But consciousness has a lot to do about managing or having a good perspective on social fear.
Mm-hmm. Well, I tell you, I've done spiritual work and meditation and spiritual exercises this lifetime for a long time. And this is still, even with all of that work, the last 25, 30 years, I really have had pretty dramatic effects on my brain with this machine.
For sure.
Yeah, I'm so jazzed about it. That's why we wanted to offer them. I mean, I was amazed. I really was. I wasn't expecting anything like that after we talked with Nikki, but I really liked the whole concept, and I wanted to try it because I like to try stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, trying stuff is important. That's what keeps us young.
Yeah, I think so, isn't it?
Yeah. So whether your ADHD behavior is genetically based or whether it's caused from having a great deal of stress, once your serotonin levels go down and your dopamine goes down and your cerebral blood flow goes down and you can't reason well and you're impulsive and you lose your socialization, you get kind of locked into an ADHD type of personality regardless.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then you have to have something that can stop that cycle and break, have a break, break the cycle and allow you to suddenly recover for a moment and go, whoa, well, that's different,
Yeah.
Wow. Gee, I thought I was having a really crappy day. I realized my day's actually not that bad. And then your attitude changes as well as, and with the attitude change, your brain also goes on a recovery process as well, just from having a different attitude.
Well, it's so funny. You know that old song about feels like Sunday morning or something like this? That song, the Kenny Rogers or...
Yes, yeah.
Oh, well, what's the name of it? Feels like Sunday...
Feels like Sunday morning.
Yeah.
I know the tune, but I don't know who does it.
Well, many, many years ago, I was sitting around one Sunday morning, and I said to myself, no, I think it was a Saturday or something, and I said, this feels like Sunday. And then I really started contemplating on that, and I spent about an hour really thinking about that, and I really then figured out that Sunday morning doesn't feel like a certain morning. It's the way I feel about Sunday.
Yes, yeah.
And boy, that was a pretty big breakthrough. That was about 20 years ago.
Yes. I remember when I was
You know what
younger,
I mean? It's
though,
like we feel like we're separate from the morning, but we are the morning. That's the reason we feel like Sunday morning, because it's us, not the morning. Morning,
That's true, yeah, very
morning
true.
doesn't feel like anything.
Yep, true.
Go ahead. You had a story there?
Oh, I was saying, I do remember, though, when I was younger, and everything was shut down on Sunday, and just nothing happened on Sunday.
Yeah, I remember, yeah.
And I remember just being so quiet. You didn't hear sirens or loud noise off the roads from traffic. You didn't hear much of anything, and I remember being very relaxed. I do find that I have to definitely make Sunday morning my Sunday morning now, because there is no Sunday morning from a stimulation perspective anymore, because everything is busier than anything now on Sunday.
Well, yeah, and I often say to friends, like, I really love Sunday because I never plan anything, and because of that, I just feel differently, because I know that at 2 o'clock I don't have anything planned, and even though I don't think about 2 o'clock coming, I just write it down. I don't think about it. It's still in there, isn't it, that we're going to do it?
Yeah, that's why a lot of people have to leave town to relax, because otherwise they'll keep doing the same old stressful things in their life. They won't actually get a proper break. And a change is as good as a rest. Believe me, on a neurological level, a change allows you to dissociate, again, from all your stresses and hassles. I know very, very few people who are avid sports fans who really deal with depression and anxiety issues because they take those breaks.
Oh, they take the break and just go crazy for 2 hours watching a football game.
That's right, yeah.
And it's actually beneficial for them.
It absolutely is, unless they really identify with that team as in terms of winning or losing.
Oh, a lot of them do, though.
A lot of them do, but if they can have some distance and just really enjoy the game, then it's quite healthy to take that break.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's why I was been so excited about this machine, because I really felt like more and more in my day, I was really seeing like, oh, I can continue to feel as good as I feel on Saturday or Sunday all day long, every day, and do everything I do my radio and do my research, because it's just how quiet we can be inside while we do something.
Indeed, and for me, that was the same thing. I only felt really good and just excellent and awesome once in a while. Now, almost every single day, I feel wonderful and awesome. Like every day is a wonderful day. And we did a study right out of your neck of the woods there at the University of Texas in Austin. They've done quite a few studies for us at the university there in the psychology department.
With the
that's
machine?
Michael Telch.
With the brain machine?
That's right, yeah. He wasn't using the Alert, though. He was using a machine called a PAL, which is similar to an Alert.
Mm-hmm.
But we had the similar mood boosting. He used the mood boosting session that's in that Alert. And when he ran the college students, and there were over 100 students they ran on it, and they compared them against standard psychological techniques for reducing worry.
Mm-hmm.
And the gear not only outperformed all the standard psychological techniques by using that mood-boosting protocol, but also they had the best compliance because it is so easy to do.
And so fun. You lie down, and you put these glasses on, and for 20 minutes, and you just hang out if you want.
That's right. Just drift away or do whatever. Yeah.
Because I've found that it makes no difference if I focus as soul, say, on something else or do my own spiritual exercises during it. Sometimes I do a mantra and different words and different sounds, because the mind is gonna focus. The brain is gonna focus on that light and the sound anyway, isn't it?
It has a tendency to focus in a sort of an abstract way.
Yeah.
Yes, and then you drift off as a result of this stimulation. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Here's from Linda in Sydney, Australia. Hi, Patrick. Love your shows. I learned so much. Could you ask your guest if this machine would have a positive effect on dyslexia?
It does, yes. We use a similar protocol to ADHD, actually, for that. But there are more than one type of dyslexia, and it works particularly good on a certain types, but not all types necessarily.
Huh. What is dyslexia? Is it just a wonkiness in the brain, a little?
Kind of. Yeah, in some levels it's where you get your merds-wixed.
Your merds-wixed? Yeah, I do.
Your merds-wixed.
Yeah.
Yeah, but there's different forms of dyslexia as well. Like some people get letters, there's sort of like motor dyslexia as well as possibly speech dyslexia. And some of it is definitely tied to having slow frontal lobes. Mm-hmm. And some of it has to do with motor strip issues or temporal lobe issues where there's information processing that goes on there. Mm-hmm.
David, do you still use your machine to this day?
Not very much. I used to use it a lot in the younger days. I have a common expression, things can get pretty stressful in the relaxation business.
That's right.
And in the early days, things were stressful in the relaxation business. And when we were young, starting out, and I used it a lot. But, if the machine works, you should be able to wean yourself off it to some degree at least. And certainly, I only use it on special events now when I get wound up. Like sometimes before I do 2-day training workshops. And sometimes I can get pretty wound up the day before, so I have to use the gear to settle myself down. Sometimes I will use it just to keep my head sharp, because, especially if you have a poor night's sleep, you wake up and you're all foggy-headed. Yeah. And you have to perform, and so I have to sharpen up that head. And sometimes I'll choose just to take a fast crash or like a cat nap, or like what I would call a deep meditation. So I kind of assess how I feel, and I'll either go into a deep meditative state that's nice and recovering, or I'll just have to keep my brain sharp because I don't have time to go into a meditation. Yeah. And I'll do it later then. But I don't use it very often anymore, no.
Well, what you all have figured out, and which comes with the machine, is a program. And you go through, I think, A through 6, right? A, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then B through 6 as well, which is 12 settings, and you recommend either do it between 5 and 7 days for each setting. If you do it 5 days, that's a 60-day, and that's why the ads say 60 days. And I'm sure people could get really nice results with that.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, there's a symptom checklist that you can use, and it'll help guide you to which session to use. Yeah.
But then I chose, because I'm a Scorpio and I believe that what's worth doing is worth overdoing, is I did the 7-day thing. So I'm on, let's see, I think I'm on B, just starting B, I'm on B2 right now. So I still have about, I'm on my 7th week, but it's going to probably take me another 3 weeks to get through the whole thing, which is fine. And then after that, then you have about 4 or 5 different settings that you can use whenever you want. And tell them about those settings.
Yes, we have some extra ones that we've taken off of other devices that we make. And the mood booster, we have the deep meditation, which is often used for sleep, which is the Schumann resonance one.
Yeah, that's neat. I like that one. I use that sometimes for my second session during the day.
Yes, it doesn't work for all types of insomnia. Sometimes an SMR works better, and sometimes a beta will with ADHD kids, often you have to put them on beta, which would make me very energized, but it has a tendency to put ADHD children right to sleep.
The Schumann wave.
No, the beta, believe it or not.
What's the beta? What is that one?
The beta is about 20 hertz, and beta are your alert waves. And for anyone, typically, if you run beta, you will be very sharp and energized. We use it actually as a replacement for coffee.
Would that be on our settings where it just says the brain brightener, that one?
Similar to that, but even faster than the brain brightener. And
I don't even know if I've tried that one, that setting. Yeah.
Okay, but the brain brightener will certainly work. In ADHD kids, it's like you're giving them breaks all of a sudden, and so they just fall asleep because their brain can stop itself.
I'll be darned. Now, what's neat about this, Dave, is if I think, and I'm going to make a statement here that I just really feel strongly about, I think that any child, I think any child over 10 or could have fun with this thing, could benefit from it. I really believe that.
Oh, my daughter used it a lot growing up, and she was top of her class. She won all kinds of scholarships and awards, and she did extremely well. And now she's actually working in the master's program in speech pathology. And part of that's a very competitive faculty to get into. And part of it I attribute to her using this gear over her school years.
Oh, she used it ongoing.
Ongoing, yeah, partly to help her get to sleep, because she'd always took on a lot of challenging projects. I mean, she was doing PowerPoint when she was in grade 4 or something, and very young. And so she used this gear to help her get to sleep and also to keep her brain sharp. And she was top of her class always, yeah.
So that's what Janet in Florida wanted to know. So after you go through the whole 2 months, do you have to keep going or for the results to last?
Well, it depends. For instance, when it comes to relaxation, for instance, if you can't say, I'm going to meditate for a year and I should be good for the rest of my life.
Exactly.
We all have stress and we all have to deal with it and we all have to settle ourselves down. When it comes, though, to something like, say, like ADHD, you can spark up the brain, and most of the studies show that in about 30 to 40 sessions, based on about 3 to 5 sessions a week, so roughly 2 to 3 months, the brain has a tendency to develop a new homeostasis and stay quite resilient there. Perhaps you'll have to do maintenance, but again, stress causes ADHD type of behaviors, and it's just hard on us, so you may, at the end, switch over from ADHD type of sessions to actually combating like the Schumann resonance and meditative type sessions.
Sure. Well, I've been on a particular spiritual path this lifetime for 25 years, and my teacher continues to suggest that it's very important for us to do our spiritual exercises every day. So what does that tell you?
Oh, yeah. Keep the brain calm and keep it more regulated every single day. We always have daily hassles that come out and surprise us. The question is, how are we going to manage them?
That's right, because we're always going to be getting new inputs, new challenges, right? New strange things around the world, and if we continue to understand that we are separate from this stuff, I mean, it's huge. Here's an email. They say, so how would sitting and breathing and saying a sound and visualizing the light be different from using the machine? Good question.
Well, visualizing the light, you just can't visualize flashing lights.
But some people can see light. I've seen light without a machine.
Yeah, you can see light, and certainly colors affect brain waves as well. Like red increases beta, and that's been well proven. Greens and blues increase alpha, and violet increases theta activity. And so guided imageries that focus on color can influence brainwave activity. But when it comes to strobing the lights and doing like meditating on the light will give her the dissociative effect. And more than likely, it'll help to stabilize her brainwaves nonetheless. But so many people are so wound, they can't possibly sit and do that.
Exactly. A lot of people can't even sit still enough to do that, much less, Yes,
and that's why we see on the brain mapper that we have here, I mean, we have seen similar brain patterns, or almost identical brain patterns, to Zen meditators with several years of practice. I mean, and how many people around the United States and Canada or Europe, like the industrialized countries, have the time to go sit in a beautiful garden setting and take 2 hours a day to meditate. We just don't. Can't do that.
Well, some people are so inclined karmically, they go to India and sit in a cave for a few years. That's what it takes for them.
Yes, and look at vacations. How many people they go on a 2-week vacation and they don't start relaxing until almost a week and a half into it.
Right. Okay, let's take this. Hey, what's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hello? Well, just don't say anything. That's okay. Here's a final question. Why would we here in the U.S. need the adapter? Has the machine helped you sleep? It certainly helped mine. The adapter is just the AC adapter. You don't really need that, I don't think. I mean, I do. I don't even use mine, right?
Well, it's a way of preserving your battery.
Yeah. I mean, if you just, if you're frugal, don't want to buy 9-volt batteries, then get the AC adapter. Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
What's your first name? Where are you calling from? Hello?
Oh, hi, Patrick. Hi, Patrick. This is Nikki Van Valkenburg from Train Your Brain, Transform Your Life.
Hi, Nikki.
Hi.
Hi, Nikki.
I just wanted to listen in. Great conversation.
Oh, well, you could listen right on the Internet.
Okay, let me do that then.
Yeah, right on oneradionetwork.com.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. She thought she had to call up to listen in. See? There you go. Well, Dave, Steve, this has been great fun. Thanks so much for your work with the machine. And, folks, if you'd like to get one of these guys, I really recommend these. I think that you'll have terrific fun. It's right on the front page of One Radio Network, and it's called the Alert Brain Training System. Click on it, and we'll get a commission, and we'll split it with Nikki, and she's got a family to support. And I think virtually anyone listening would have a good time with this, don't you, Dave? I mean, well, it's not a fair question because you make these things, but I really believe that.
Well, it would be a biased answer, I guess, but I know for me personally, it saved my life.
Really?
And I know thousands of people whose lives it has saved, and families and relationships as well. Not just, not just from a health perspective, but from a relationship and marriage. If people are calmer and more relaxed, they're more proactive instead of reactive. They can be there to nurture instead of just flying off the handle when things don't go right. I mean, families do so much better.
Mm-hmm. Here's another question. Emailer says, I have the Voyager XL light and sound machine. Is this different from yours?
A fair bit of difference. Yes. We use, as you know, we have a really nice set of glasses, and we use what's called field stimulation, which we have a patent on, and we discovered field stimulation after doing brain mapping and things. It's particularly important for ADD, depression, cognitive decline, to have field stimulation where we can inject a different frequency in each hemisphere of the brain. We also have other things on our gear that is unique to our gear, sine wave stimulation, a very controlled process, and we are the only company that actively engages in research and lectures and writes about the technology, and that sets us apart from everyone else, and that's also why we largely sell to clinicians. We don't have to, but we largely do, because they want, of course, clinical quality gear.
So what's this field stimulation? What is that?
Yeah, like the right arm goes to the left hemisphere of the brain, the left leg goes to the right hemisphere of the brain, but the right visual field of both eyes goes to the left hemisphere, and the left visual field of both eyes goes to the right hemisphere.
Oh.
And for instance, when we're treating, let's say, ADD, for instance, we will put beta in the right fields to boost the beta in the left part of the brain, because that's where logic and reasoning and also a positive attitude comes from. So you want to boost that up quite a bit. In the left fields, we inject what's called the sensory motor rhythm, and that's what ADHD kids don't have. That's why they're hyperactive. The sensory motor rhythm is the calming rhythm or the idling rhythm for the motor strip. So we inject roughly 13 to 15 hertz in the left side to settle down the hyperactivity in the right side. It also inhibits the theta, which helps them to reason better as well, and also promotes self-calming. For the mood booster, to fight depression, what we do is we put the beta in the left side, the right fields to the left brain, to inhibit that alpha, to wake up sort of the happy side of your brain, and in the left side of the field stim, we inject alpha to put that negative fear-based part of the brain more into a more calmer state.
So this is very, very highly engineered and well thought out, and not just a bunch of lights flashing and some sound. And I mean, it's pretty sophisticated.
Yes, one of the problems of the industry is a lot of people think they can just make blinking lights and sell gear, but really there's a lot of science to this to do it right.
Right. Well, that's well said. All right, we're going to talk to Michael Joyce now, and Michael was really the guy that came up with this basic concept, huh?
Well, he certainly helped. In 1992, Harold Russell and Carter, out of Texas again, they published the first study on treating ADHD using flashing lights on a lab model that they had built.
Russell and Carter, yeah.
Yeah, and then some other guys started doing stuff too. Michael Joyce got in line right around 1990. Maybe he'll have the better date, but I think it was 96, 97 when we started doing stuff with Michael. And he did some fabulous studies. His biggest study with us has 7 schools and 200 children involved in that study. It's a huge study that he did for us. I still got to get that published. I'm working on that right now. So Michael has certainly taken the ball and taken it another step further.
Really took it to another level. So we're going to talk to Michael now. He's up in Minnesota, and we're going to give him a call. And he's got some cool stuff about the connection with the gut and all that, too, which I think is pretty interesting.
Oh yes, yeah, leaky gut syndrome and stuff, you bet.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Dave, so much, and I hope you get a long summer that you've just started.
Yes. Well, I'm heading down to Arizona shortly here to do the conference at the ISNR conference where I'm lecturing. And Patrick, I'd like to thank you very much for being so kind as to let me spend an hour on your show. I appreciate it very much.
Well,
thank you for your hospitality.
It's our pleasure, Dave. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Dave Seaver, Patrick Timpone. Now we're going to talk more about the brain with Michael Joyce. We're going to call up there, so stay right there. Hi there, I'm with Al Carter. He's the world's foremost authority on rebound exercise. Al, I just heard that 25% of the people technically obese. Wow, what's that about? Can rebounding help that?
Very definitely. The most important thing about rebound exercise is it's convenient.
But what if folks are really heavy and they can barely jump? Does it still work?
Doing the simple health balance is going to help virtually anybody lose weight.
Now, the health bounce is where you don't even leave the mat and you just kind of bounce up and down, and that will burn calories?
You bet. Not only will it burn calories, but it also gets rid of the toxins, poisons, trash, and metabolic waste, things that you don't burn off, but they weigh a lot and they take up space. By getting rid of the metabolic garbage, you can tone and tighten much easier.
Order yourself a rebounder right now. Front page, look at the display for the rebounders on OneRadioNetwork.com. Go through PayPal, very secure. Don't have to be a PayPal member. Any credit card, ship it via UPS in 3 days or so. It's all yours. Right on the front page of OneRadioNetwork.com.
As you are enjoying this program, please consider the following. If the value of your money is based solely on the number of paper dollars in circulation, what does a massive increase in the supply of money mean to you? How does quantitative easing affect the value of your wealth? Will printing by central banks around the world change the nature of the buying power of your money? If this is all the case, what is an investor to do? USGoldCoins.com highly recommends that people diversify their wealth. Call us today and learn how you can acquire physical gold and silver coins to help divide your assets into a number of areas that will provide greater protection against an inevitable loss in buying power by the excessive printing of capital. If we can't control Washington, if we can't control the central banks, it is up to the individual investors to protect their own wealth. Do you have a sufficient amount of gold and silver coins? Please call us today, 1-800-878-2646, or log on the web at usgoldcoins.com.
Well, it's a pretty wild ride in the gold and silver department. As you may know, gold was down about $50 yesterday and back up about $40 today. There's a lot of manipulation that goes on in the gold and silver market, and that's why we suggest you just kind of keep buying as you can and don't worry about these upswings of 2 or 3% on a daily basis, because it's going to be there. Who knows for how long? But gold, just for fun, is at $18.55 this morning, up $40. Well, $37. Silver's up about 75 cents to $42.39 this morning, and the dollar is up a few basis points today. And just quickly, we'll take a look at the stock market. It's just up a little bit. Let's see, about the same in Europe, just a little bit. So there you have it.
Know the source. One Radio Network. Talk to Patrick now, 888-663-6386, or email Patrick at 1Radio.